Right. All right. So moving on with this particular presentation, and
Sometimes I just want to tell you that instead of just browsing through a set of methods and telling you what they are, I'd like to show you something else. Um, in particular, when you have an existing, you know, you should excuse my drawing here, but that's the best that I can do, right? So there are some characters here stored in this memory buffer, right? So in fact, I can fix it by maybe using shapes instead of drawing individual lines, right? So that's too thick. So let's just draw something that looks like a rectangle and use rectangles for these types of drawings. So we store some characters in this memory buffer, right? So each little square here or rectangle represents individual characters. Okay? And so then we said that we can replace the content of a certain substring from here to here with new content. But at the same time, you probably say that my plan is to locate this substring inside the string builder, for instance, and replace it if it's found in other spots. For example, if I have this substring, right, and if I find it here, and if I find it also somewhere else, like 3 occurrences of this substring, you know, are present, so there could be 2 ways to approach this. One possible way to approach this might be to essentially do the search, locate the substring, and replace it with new content. And by the way, this new content, right, this new fragment can be a larger piece, right? So it's like this piece right here is replaced by a longer piece, for example, or shorter, or the same size. So obviously, a replacement operation like this will basically affect the length of the entire content of my string. So it's just something that we should be making notable, that the new content in each substring will be affecting the length, potentially, very likely, is going to be affecting the length of the entire string. So therefore, if you're searching for like this occurrence and then change it, and continue your search over here, make another change, continue your search in the string right here, finding an occurrence of a substring and making a replacement, it's one thing. But in other instances, in other algorithms, it's possible to locate every substring and find location of every substring, or maybe even get locations of the substring. For instance, it can be not just any type of substring, but maybe a location of a field in a record in a file, for instance, right? So it's possible that we may be already given these locations and not searching for them. So then you can still make those replacements, but then what you need to do is perhaps you need to do this from this end, right? So make this replacement first, so that then you're going backwards. So you're replacing this piece, right? So you already replaced it. Then you move on backwards and replace this piece, right? And then you move on and replace the first piece. So just be aware of it, that when you make replacements, and in general when you do substring operations, remember that the length of the entire object, the entire content, is affected by your replacements. So if you're relying on some kind of some sort of like a count and position system, that includes the length of the substrings. If you have already pre-calculated this position, and this position, then any mutation of your string invalidates those positions very quickly. So you have to be aware of it. And the most straightforward approach to ignore this is to, instead of begin your changes closer to the beginning of the string, instead just go backwards, right? So you make this change, some offsets here inside the content are now became different, but then you ignore it because the rest of the string is unaffected. Something I want to tell you about pretty much all of this, because it looks like, oh, what's the big deal? Insert, replace, delete. Well, yes, and a single instance of these operations is not a big challenge. But if you have some sort of an algorithmical approach to manipulate your text and do a series of replacements based on existing offsets, then you need to be at least aware of the fact that, well, wait a minute, I make this change, and all of the numbers that I already have became invalid. Just be aware of it. But otherwise, it's a very straightforward approach to everything. So the most common operations: insert here, replace, and delete. Right? So some of these operations will grow the length of the content. Some of these operations will shrink the length of the content. One operation which is not like these three is the append. Of course, appending happens at the end of your text, and this way it's perhaps you see how it doesn't even require a position, because automatically appending position, of course, is the tail of your content, and therefore you may issue multiple appends, and they're all going to look as expected without any kind of side effects or unexpected things. Okay. Any questions about this so far? Okay, so we'll just move on.